Well, for more than 100 years, the Boy Scouts have been a pillar of American life, but today they're gone. They disappeared. The Boy Scouts of America announced it'll be changing its name to Scouts BSA to reflect its decision last fall to admit girls into the program. Girl Scouts, I don't think, are admitting boys. The organization is also launching a new ad campaign intended to appeal to both sexes. The tagline is "Scout Me In," which maybe not surprisingly sounds like one of Hillary Clinton's many campaign slogans. Author and columnist Mark Steyn joins us tonight for a post-mortem on the death of an American institution. This feels, Mark, kind of like a watershed moment. Maybe I'm overstating its importance.
I don't think you are, Tucker. One of the interesting things is that Boy Scouts were so universally presumed to be good that the very name became a synonym for being the good guy.
That's right.
2 years ago, the first time any of us had heard of James Comey, 90% of columnists and commentators said, oh, James Comey is renowned in Washington as a Boy Scout. That's what it meant, the good guy. And the genius of the left is that in Nothing Flat, they turned the good guys into the bad guys. I remember going to the Democrat convention in Los Angeles in the year 2000, and some scouts came out bearing the flag, and the Democrats on the floor booed. And I thought, my God, these guys are crazy. They're booing Boy Scouts. Well, shortly after the decision in the 90s not to have gay scoutmasters, they got kicked out of church halls. Companies like Disney said that their employees could no longer give the charitable donation through Disney to the Boy Scouts. Basically, the good guys were turned into the bad guys. And that's why they rolled over on transgender scouts, they rolled over on Girl Scouts, and now they've driven a stake through the heart of the institution, and it is dead.
It's happening on a larger stage. Because Harvey Weinstein was a pig, the rest of us have to stand back and not say anything as masculinity is criminalized. But something's lost in that, I think. Anyway, I want to ask you about this. I want to ask you, that's making me so depressed that I got to move on to something happy. I'm sorry. I was never even in the Boy Scouts. It's one of the last wholesome, at least in my mind, places for boys. So, like, where else do they go?
I was a lousy Boy Scout, Tucker, so you couldn't have been worse than me.
I was not impressive enough to be a Boy Scout. I was slouch-shouldered and long-haired, but I always admired them. Anyway, Nancy Pelosi, on a happier note, says she's sticking around. On Tuesday, the 78-year-old Democratic leader says she plans to run again for Speaker if the Democrats win the House, and they may. Republicans love this idea, by the way. Democrats are terrified. But here's my question. Why are Democrats so afraid of Nancy Pelosi? They don't want her as Speaker at all, but none of them will say that to her because she holds this mystical power over them. Why?
Well, I think that's what's incredible. I mean, she's said things that would take out any normal politician. You know, we have to pass the bill so you can find out what's in it. She's in favor of open borders, and yet at the same time she's in favor of mandatory contraception use so that no Americans who are already here have any children. She's a mass of contradictions and inane statements. But unlike Republican leaders, she's a ruthless operator. And you're going to, if you're a Democrat and you run up against Nancy Pelosi, it's not going to work out too well for you. She's serious, and she's telling them, back off, because when we win in November, I'm going to be the Speaker. Don't get in my way.
That is absolutely a mass of contradictions and inane statements. But as the daughter of the mayor of Baltimore, she knows how to count votes, and she's tough. Right. And toughness in the end is decisive. I think you're absolutely right. And also, don't you think it's sort of a measure of how weak a lot of Democratic members are, that they're afraid of a 78-year-old former speaker?
Oh, well, actually, compared to a lot of people on the Democrat side, she's actually a young whippersnapper. You shouldn't be ungallant, Tucker. Bernie Sanders is... You said the Boy Scouts were 108 years old. I think Bernie Sanders was one of the original members back in, whatever it is, 1910. So compared, she is a beautiful young thing compared to most of the Democrats.
I think Bernie was a young pioneer, for the record, but whatever.
That's right.
One last thing. In his speech to high school kids today, Michelle Obama said this. Watch.
I know that you are me, and if I can be standing here as your forever First Lady, then you can do anything you put your mind to.
You are me. Weird it brought it back to me, but whatever.
I don't actually like the idea of, there's a term for a forever First Lady. It's Queen. And I think there's something un-Republican about this. When I hear it in context like that, though, I do wonder if she's just reading out some sappy, schlocko, soft rock song, because that's what it sounds like. I know that you are me, you're my forever First Lady. Don't you remember? It's number 37 in 1988. It was Kenny Loggins or somebody like that. James Taylor. John Kerry flew James Taylor to sing it to the French after the Paris bombings. You're my forever First Lady. It's a great song, but it is un-Republican, and I think the best term for Michelle Obama is Mrs. Obama. I don't believe in this practice of extending governor and senator titles for life. You're better off with viscounts and dukes, because senator and governor and titles like that are in the gift of the people. And when the people withdraw them, you go back to being Mr. and Mrs.
And if you can't take my appendix out, I'm not calling you doctor. No, I totally agree. Right. Mark, we're doing a remix of that song. That was I'm speechless. Thank you.
Oh yeah. It's a great song. Number 37 in 1988. Ask Casey Kasem. It was a huge hit.
He's gone now. Thank you. Great to see you, Mark.
Thanks, Tucker.
The Boy Scouts of America making a major change, dropping boy from their title, opting for a more gender-neutral name, Scouts BSA, and that starts next year, Brian.
This sounds like a joke, doesn't it? Our next guest says he won't let his sons anywhere near the organization now and will instead use this to teach them a lesson about truth and reason and logic. Matt Walsh is with thedailywire.com and author of this book, The Unholy Trinity, Blocking the Left's Assault on Life, Marriage, and Gender. So some say, hey, what's the big deal? Matt, I think this is a big deal because there's this thing called the Girl Scouts that are going to suffer from that, and I think there's a reason why the curriculum's different. Do you?
Yeah, because this is a curriculum for boys, and boys are different than girls. I know that this is a truth that upsets people these days because any obvious truth does, but boys are different than girls, and so if we're concerned with the kind of moral formation of boys and making boys into men, well, then you need to separate them from girls and give them a different sort of experience. And so it is a big deal because you have this iconic American organization which has now destroyed itself, bending to the whims of the PC leftist mob. And this is a lesson for everyone. I will use this as a lesson for my sons to show them, if you're standing on truth and if you're standing on the firm ground of moral truth and you start giving up inches and you start surrendering, then before long there's nothing left. And that's what's happened with the Boy Scouts at this point. It's very sad.
Matt, we asked our viewers to write in, and our producers were telling us during the commercial break that a lot of people are writing in saying this is the end of tradition. Most of our viewers are furious about this, saying that men need to learn how to be men in order to learn how to treat a woman correctly. You said you're keeping your sons away from it now. Why is that?
Because they've completely sacrificed their identity. I don't want my son. This is the wrong example. I don't want my son to be associated with an organization that would give up its identity and its mission, which was a good, positive mission, just because people are upset. That's the wrong message. I want my sons to know something different.
I could understand if we didn't have a Girl Scout, but if you're a girl and you want to be a part of the Scouts, then you join the Girl Scouts. If you're a boy, then you join the Boy Scouts. There is one for each.
Exactly, and that's the way that it always seems to kind of go this way, where we take away all the spaces that are for boys, and we still let girls have spaces. So it's like in rec leagues a lot of times. Well, the girls can go play with the boys' baseball. They also have their softball team. Boys can't play on the softball team, though. So the girls can have their space. Boys can't have theirs. And, I don't think it's right. We're depriving something. We're taking something away from boys that they really need.
And a lot of our military comes from scouting, and they have that background, and they learn some valuable lessons there. A lot of people don't like sports, but they want to be involved in extracurricular activities, and that's the time to bond and form that team. Do you think this could be just about enrollment? Since enrollment's down for Boy Scouts, they're going to try to suck them from the Girl Scouts?
I think that's certainly part of it, but why is enrollment down? I think enrollment is down because they started giving up who they are. They started getting away from their fundamental mission, which again originally was this is for boys and it is a Christian organization. So the more they get away from that, the more they lose.